Well, Adcorp's latest employment index shows a slight uptrend in the job rate, with employment increasing by 0.2% between February and March, giving an annualized increase of 2.3%. Here in studio to take us through the index is Richard Pike. He's the CEO of Adcorp. Richard, thanks for coming in this afternoon.
You're welcome.
First of all, starting with the index, how is it put together and how reliable a picture does it give us of the employment situation here in South Africa?
What we've tried to do is to put something together that's relevant and timeless. I think that's a problem with existing statistics that we've seen in the past, is they tend to lag reality by about 3 to 4 months. So ours is a month-on-month index, which tells you pretty much what's up to date. And then also what we've done is we've tried to correlate information that we get through our own operations, and we employ about 90,000 contractors on a daily basis. Also put about 30,000 people into permanent employment on an annualized basis, and look at correlations between kind of history and our experiences. And so we're confident that what we do is the most accurate of these employment indexes, and importantly, it's up to date, it's timeless.
Looking at some of the key trends to come out of the index, as we said, up 0.2% between February and March. Manufacturing employment up 3.3%, and demand for plant and machine operators and assemblers up 6.1%. And that really ties in with what we've seen coming through from the manufacturing sector with our PMI data and our manufacturing numbers, that we are seeing that sector starting to recover and people starting to employ.
Yeah, we are. Just some interesting comments. I mean, firstly, it is a little bit flattering because it's coming off a low base. If you look at the jobs that we lost as an economy last year, we lost about 1 million jobs. A high proportion, roughly about a quarter to a third of those were in the manufacturing sector. So the base is quite low. I think the other point is that if you look at where these jobs are being created, they're typically contracted jobs or atypical type of jobs as opposed to permanent jobs. So I don't think the confidence is back yet to make permanent appointments. And we've seen it in the motor industry last month where vehicle sales way exceeded expectation. It's quite hard to staff up where your volumes are so volatile. So contractors are definitely the preferred choice at the moment. Yeah,
well, that was another trend that came out of this. The permanent employment has continued to decline. The contracting continues to grow. Do you think this is a permanent shift that we're seeing, that people are going to employ more contractors and more part-time labour or temporary labour, and so they can be more flexible with their workforce when tough times do come?
Definitely that's a trend, and it's not just a South Africanism, it's a global trend. We've seen that all over the world, and at the moment there are about 3.8 million contractors in the workforce, which is a sizable proportion. About 28% of our workforce is contracted, and I think it's got to do with a number of issues. It's volatility, it's an attempt to manage costs better as volumes flex, but also it's a very labour unfriendly environment that we operate in the moment. We've seen wage inflation quite significant through one of the worst recessions we've had. That's not conducive to creating permanent employment. We've also seen the Minister of Labour coming out 2 days ago and saying that he wants to toughen up labour laws. In theory, he should be actually alleviating some of the pressures created by labour laws. It's not friendly to job creation. And also the other thing we've seen is a lot of strike action. So I think people are quite scared of employment, and as a result, we've got a serious unemployment problem in this country.
And of course, we know that the unions and the Labour Minister have talked about getting rid of labour brokers in the market. And I should imagine that you also place with labour brokers, and it's a big part of the employment market in South Africa, isn't it?
Yeah, we are a big player in that space. 90,000 people, as I said, on contract on any given day. But of the contracted workforce of 3.8 million, about 800,000 would be intermediated through labour brokers. So the problem is bigger than labour brokers, if you can call it a problem. The problem is that there's a trend towards contracting labour, and I think one has to look at the cause of that rather than try and stamp out the effect.
Is it something we want?
Absolutely. I think the role that we play in this industry is quite dramatic. You know, if you look at the unemployment problem, it affects the youth. It's a youth problem, 18 to 35-year-olds. If you look at the people that we place as an industry, about 92% are previously disadvantaged, 85% are people aged in that category of 18 to 35, and 50% of them have never been employed before. So we play a major role in creating job opportunities and taking people into the permanent place of work through the labour broking network. And I think there's been a recognition of that in government recently, and hence an about turn on the calls for a ban.
Perhaps just taking a look at some more of the stats that came out of the survey, an 8% fall in construction sector jobs, and of course lots of World Cup projects coming to an end. Do you think those jobs are likely to be picked up as government infrastructure spending comes on stream and as the Medupi power station starts to get built?
Yeah, I think the second issue that you raised is important. The loan that's come through for Eskom now to fund the Medupi power station, I think that will help. Definitely, we've seen in the electricity sector stagnation in terms of job creation over the last couple of months. That should pick up now as the funding comes through. So some of those jobs will come back, but I think it also depends on the geographies. The one area we're concerned about is Western Cape. And in fact, in our index this month, we've seen a fall off of employment in the Western Cape. Whereas we've seen KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape come through quite strongly with a sort of a flat position in Gauteng. So I think you've got to look at the geographies, but a lot of these infrastructural projects do go on for some time, so hopefully those people will be picked up.
And just looking at some of the results we've had out from construction companies recently, many of them haven't been doing well in the Western Cape. Projects aren't coming on stream there as quickly as perhaps in other parts of the country. So again, that would tie in with what you're finding as well.
Yeah, very, very much so. And you know, look, you do have this demobbing that you've had en masse as these projects have come to an end for the World Cup. But one thing that I suppose they have done is they've imparted skills, and the skills therefore do exist out there. So as projects come on stream, theoretically there's quite a good pool of people that can be picked up.
Richard, this is the 5th consecutive month of growth in your index. It is slow going though, but we are seeing this gradual improvement. When do you think the momentum would start to build, that we would see a more significant improvement?
Yeah, I think there's a big element of confidence that has to come back into this market. If you look at economic growth, you're finding that employment growth is lagging economic growth, and I think it is a confidence issue. So you know, your point is right. We've seen an uptick, and we're seeing some kind of sustainability coming back. But I think until you see some real movement in the economy, you're not going to see anything dramatic.